other pages. So the first page is all just simplifying. As you can see, it gradually gets more difficult, right? It throws in variables, it throws in numbers on the outside. The concept is the same on this first page. You have one number to worry about, and then you have variables. So we are going to start with that 112, and we are going to factor it. We're going to say 2 goes into 11 5 times, into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 56 28 times. We're going to do this all the way down until we have all prime factors here. Now, the thing with this is that we have to consider that number that is paired up and consider the numbers that are not paired up. And so our index is 2, so anything that has pairs of 2 can come out. So that's going to come out as 1. This is going to come out as 1. And this does not have a pair, so it is going to stay inside the root. We also have this variable. It is k to the first power. We only have one k, which means it automatically cannot pair with anything. So it's going to stay inside the root. All right. And then if we take out multiple things, they multiply. So in this case, we're going to say 2 times 2 is 4. And then 7 times k on the inside. And this is our answer here. 4 square root of 7k. Just because it's a big number does not mean it's going to be crazy difficult to do. Just start with a small number. So we're going to take 392. This is an even number, so we know that 2 goes into it. 2 goes into 3 one time, carry that 1. 2 goes into 19 9 times, carry the 1. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So you can just do your division just like you would do. This is also an even number. We can say 2 again. And we can keep going as long as it is an even number. Right here, it's not an even number, so we are going to do this. And that's prime. Everything's prime. Again, it's a square root. Now, what you have to pay attention here is you already have a -3 on the outside. So that is going to stay on the outside. We're just going to automatically write that down, and then we're going to group our things. So the 7s pair up, so that's going to group. A set of 2s pair up, so that's going to group. And then we have a 2 that does not group, which will end up staying inside the root. All right. And then we look at our variables. Our variables here, a to the 4th. You can say 4 divided by my index, which is 2. That is 2 with the remainder of 0. So that means 2 a's are going to come out. No a's are going to stay in. 0 a's inside. And then you just want to multiply all of this. -3 times 7 times 2. This multiplies to -42. We have the a squared, and then we have the square root of 2. And so that is our answer. Yes. All right, let's look at 12. The only difference with 12 is that it has multiple variables. So again, use your smallest number. That way you don't lose things within your factoring. We don't have a number on the outside here, so we have a 2 that comes out. We have another 2 that comes out. This 5 does not pair with anything, so it's going to stay in. And then we look at our 2 variables. We have both of them are to the second power, so both of them are getting 2 divided by 2, which is 1 remainder of 0. So 1 u is going to come out, 1 v is going to come out. None are going to stay in. Multiply this. 2 times 2 times uv is 4 uv. The 5 stays in. And then we are done with that one. You'll remember, you don't have, while the rule says you can just multiply what's on the inside, you're going to get this ginormous number, right? So you are going to want to just factor them. They have the same index, which is a 2, so just factor them individually. This is going to be 2 and 28, 2 and 14, 2 and 7. And then this is going to just be 2 and 7. And And so now we're looking for stuff that pairs up in groups of 2. So this has a group of 2. The 7s actually group up here, right? And these 2s group up right there. We actually don't have anything that stays in here. Nothing stays in here at all. 2 times 2 times 7 is 28. And that is my answer. Nothing stays in the root, so my radical sign goes away. Nothing stayed in the root, so the radical sign goes away. I chose this one because it's a little more difficult. You're multiplying 2 of them, and one of them actually has a coefficient, has a number on the outside. So when you're considering this, you need to go ahead and take this guy on the outside, and you need to set him on the outside wherever you're going to have those, so you don't forget it at the end. If you go ahead and start factoring, I promise you're going to forget him. Like, still going to be up there when you finish your final answer. Okay, so just make sure if there is one on the outside, go ahead and plop it wherever you're going to put the numbers you're pulling out. And then you can do your factoring. 18 is 2 and 9, 3 and 3. 30 is 3 and 10, 2 and 5. All right, so we'll deal with the numbers first. All right, so we're gonna look at stuff that groups. These 3s group, so I'm gonna bring a 3 out. Does anything else group? My 2s group, I have a 2 in this side, and I have a 2 over here. That is a group, so the 2s will come out. What is gonna stay in then? Yeah, a 5 right here is going to stay in. A 3 right here is going to stay in. So 3 stays in and 5 stays in. All right, so now we have to deal with our variables. We have 1 p here and 3 p's here. How many p's do we have? We have 4. What is my index? 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2 with the remainder of 0. What does that tell me? 2 of your p's come out, p to the second power. How many p's stay in? 0. 0. Your remainder. And you can, if you don't like doing it that way, you can say p to the 4th. Well, that's p times p times p times p. And you can group it. There's a group. There's a group. 2 came out. 0 stayed in. Right? We've got to do this part. Negative 13 times 3 times 2 gives me what? Yep, and then we have our p squared. What's on the inside here? 15, 3 times 5. Remember, if it's on the inside, it can be multiplied. If they're both on the outside, they can be multiplied, okay? So for this one, what's on the outside of the parentheses is going to distribute through, okay? He does not have a coefficient, so all we have to do is make sure that we are multiplying that to whatever is on the inside of something else, okay? So we have square root of 6 times square root of 12. We can do square root of 72 and factor it, or we can just do it like this, and we can use the factors of both of them. Then it's going to go to the second one, square root of 6 times square root of 6. All right? So we just did this on the prior page, multiplying them. We're going to do exactly what we did on the prior page. We're going to say 3 times 2, 2 times 6, 2 times 3. All right? So we're going to do that. And then we're going to group them, right? We have a group here. So we have a 2 that comes out. We have a 3 and a 3. So we have a 3 that comes out. And then we have a 2 that stays in for that one. Okay? Don't forget that you do have a plus sign here. So we do have to put our plus sign before we move on to the next group. Now I'm going to talk about this next group, square root of 6 times the square root of 6. You can factor this if you want to, but anytime you multiply a root by itself, you get what's inside. Like the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 36, which is 6. That's how that always works. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which is 5. Anytime you multiply a root by itself, the roots pretty much cancel. I'm going to confuse y'all. Remember, this is to the 1/2. Remember, you can rewrite them. So that's to the 2/2. So that's to the first power. I mean, like, there's a whole slew of reasons why this always works. Anytime you multiply a root by itself, you get what's inside. Okay? Because the roots just cancel each other. Because you multiply what's inside, and then you just multiply two of the same number, and then you're saying what two numbers pair up to get that number. What's the number you started with? So you can do the same process if all of that confuses you, which it may, or some of y'all's brains may work like mine. But either way, when you group these 6s, you have a 6 and a 6. You can break them down, but it's going to be 2 and 3, 2 and 3. So a pair of 2s and a pair of 3s are going to come out. This is just going to simplify to just the number 6. Just the number 6. Always. Anytime you multiply a radical by itself, you get what's inside, and the radical goes away. Yeah, I mean, you can break it down if you want to. So you can say 2 and 3, 2 and 3. You can do exactly the same thing. 2s, 3s, you have a 2 and a 3 that comes out. So we have to finish this one. This simplifies to 6 square root of 2, and this is just 6. Can I do anything else? No, it's like having an X and a Y. This is your answer. You cannot combine the 6s. You cannot combine the 2 and the 6. You can't combine any of this. This is your answer right here. And so you're done. It doesn't feel complete, I know, but that is your answer. That is your final answer. I picked a big one on purpose. So I am distributing negative square root of 42. And I'm going to distribute that through. So negative square root of 42 times 5. Is 5 inside a radical? No, it is not. So 5 cannot multiply by the 42. All right? It can multiply by what's on the outside of the radical. What's on the outside of the radical? Negative, what do you think? 1. All right? Negative 1. So we have negative 1 and positive 5. So we're going to have a negative 5. And then square root of 42 doesn't combine with any piece of that because there was no inside to combine with. Okay? There was no inside to combine with. Next one. We are distributing it again to the next group over here. On the outsides, we have negative 1 times negative 2. What's going to happen there? Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. So just write it as a plus. Okay? And then we have on the insides, we have square root of 42 times the square root of 12. I don't want to multiply those. I want to do the process that I've been doing the whole time. I want to simplify those into primes and then group them, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to simplify this one right here. It's 2 and 21, 3 and 7. This is 2 and 6. 2 and 3. All right. So I'm going to bring this row down. Nothing can happen here, by the way. If the 42 could simplify, we would. But it's 2, 3, and 7. Nothing's going to pair up in that 42. So even though it's huge, it's going to stay huge. So negative 5 square root of 42 is as simple as this piece of it gets. All right. Don't forget, you have a plus sign here. Put your plus sign. All right? For the next group, we already have a 2 on the outside, right? So that's going to automatically go on the outside. And now we're going to see what else is going to come out of our factoring. All right? I have this group here. This group of 2s, right? So that can come out as a 2. Can anything else group in that whole, a 3. I have a 3 that is over here, and I have a 3 that is over here. So that's going to group, right? So a 3 is going to come out. And then I need to decide what's going to stay in. This is where you need to make sure you don't lose a prime. Don't forget what prime numbers are. Prime numbers can only be divided by themselves in 1. So when you have all this cluster of numbers, You need to look and say, make sure I've grabbed all my primes. You'll notice that I am circling the ones that group. I'm squaring the ones that don't, so that I can quickly go back and say, did I get all of them? That's my goal, is to make sure I got them all. All right. So I need to look, and I can see that this 2 right here has not been accounted for, right? So that's going to go in here. And I can see that this 7 has not been accounted for, so that's going to go in there. By the way, if you start listing them on the inside and you notice you list a number twice, maybe you missed a group, okay? You should never have a 2 and a 2 on the inside of a square root because you missed a group of 2s. So as you go back, this is also a good check that you got all of your groups as well, all right? So now I'm going to simplify this second piece and I'm done. Again, this piece is as simple as it gets. Make sure it makes it to your final answer. Don't forget your plus sign. And then I have 2 times 3, which is what? 12. On the inside, I have 2 times 7, which is 14. This is my answer right here. I am done.